Hello everyone, welcome back to the Crimeland channel. This case is ongoing and very complicated. Today we will discuss what we know so far about the murder of Shanquella Robinson, which occurred on October 29th of this year, 2022. Initially, Shanquella's story was largely ignored by traditional media. Therefore, social media and citizen journalism played a huge role in bringing attention to her murder, and were largely responsible for prompting the authorities to look deeper into what really happened. Clearly, these people were not truly her friends, and we will see why. But I will refer to them simply as the others, because I don't think they deserve to be called friends. It was Shanquella and these other 6 people who had planned a trip to Cabo San Lucas to celebrate the birthdays of 2 people in the group. Their names are Dejanay Jackson and Nazir Wiggins. Shanquella and the others met in college at Winston-Salem University, but the other 6 were already friends among themselves before becoming friends with Shanquella. It seems she was somewhat the 7th person to join this group. However, the dynamics within this group are still quite confusing. Shanquella Robinson clarified that she didn't know this group of people very well, except for Khalil Cook, who often spent time with Shanquella and her family and joined them on various family outings. The trip to Cabo began on October 28, 2022, when 6 of the 7 guests flew to Mexico. They were staying at a resort called Cabo Villas and had rented the property Villa Linda 32. The 7th group member, Nazir Wiggins, arrived only the next day, on October 29th. The exact property where they stayed has been removed from the Cabo Villas website, but photos of it are still available on other property sites, which show how beautiful the location was. It has 5 bedrooms and 5.5 bathrooms. It can accommodate up to 12 guests, so the 7 had plenty of space for a comfortable party weekend. It appears that the villa cost around $1,495 a night, which, when divided among 7 people, isn't too expensive, but multiplied over several nights plus food and alcohol, amounts to several $100s per person per day. I mention this because money is something that will resurface later. Their first day of vacation seemed relatively drama-free, and it appears they spent the day having fun, drinking, swimming, and playing some drinking games. Fortunately, much of what they did that night was documented by Shanquella on her Instagram story. This gives us some insight into what the situation was like. Much of what she posted seemed like normal vacation Instagram stories, very light-hearted and fun. However, there is one story in particular that was posted on her Instagram story that is extremely disturbing. It was posted at 8:45 p.m. and shows Shanquella completely passed out on a hammock. This was recorded on her phone but uploaded by Khalil. And what makes this so disturbing is the comment he makes about it. "First day, buddy, 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 buddy? She's too full." And although it seems he's joking with his tone of voice, it is indeed bothersome considering what will happen to her next. We also know that at some point during the night, she called her mother, Salamandra, and told her that everyone was getting ready for dinner and that there was a private chef preparing tacos for them. Salamandra said her daughter seemed happy and told her she would call her back the next day. That night, Shanquella also posted about how she and the others were playing a drinking game, but within less than 24 hours, everything changed. The following day, October 29th, was supposed to be another day of partying and fun for Shanquella. At some point that morning, a video recorded on Shanquella's phone shows her walking through the villa, looking for the others. In the video, you can hear her asking where everyone is, and that it wouldn't take long to get undressed, presumably because everyone wanted to take a nude bath, and that it didn't take long to take off some clothes. But when she finds the others, they all seem to be in the same room without her. She clearly says, "It doesn't take long to get undressed." The situation in the video seems very strange and unsettling in retrospect, and many people have speculated, of course, that the group of people seem to be making some kind of plan without her present. And if you watch this video, you can't ignore the body language of the other women in the room and how detached they are from Shanquella. Shanquella, on the other hand, seems to be in a great mood, excited about their day and ready to spend another fun day in Cabo, while everyone else seems to be on a different wavelength than her. Again, this doesn't prove anything, but it's certainly strange since they are all in that room without her. If they were getting ready there, why not include her in the preparations? It all seems odd, especially considering that not long after, Shanquella would suffer from alcohol poisoning, or at least that's what the others claimed. Shortly after 2:00 p.m. that day, Khalil called Shanquella's mother and told her that her daughter was not feeling well, specifying that she had drunk too much. He basically told her that they would take care of her and that a doctor was on the way to help. Salamandra didn't have much she could do but to believe what Khalil was saying and hope that her daughter would recover quickly. During the time the doctor was trying to help Shanquella, Khalil kept Salamandra updated on what was happening, but he was basically just repeating the same thing over and over. Then, a few hours later, Salamandra received a final call from Khalil telling her the news that her daughter had died. Then, rather than staying in Mexico to help organize the return of Shanquella's body to the United States, the others packed all their belongings and left the country. All they brought back of Shanquella were her bags, which Khalil left at his parents' house. From the beginning, Salamandra was not convinced that anyone was telling her the truth, because in the days following her daughter's death, several people from that group came to visit her, and each one had a slightly different version of the story of what had happened. Some of them said she had been found unconscious in the bathroom by a housekeeper. That's how they discovered she had alcohol poisoning. But others in the group said they found her in bed unconscious. When you have a group of people with conflicting stories, it's obvious that something is wrong. No one had a consistent story, and this immediately raised a huge red flag. And then both Salamandra and Bernard, the father, received further information that helped confirm their suspicions. The Washington Post reports that while Bernard was trying to contact the resort to coordinate the return of his daughter's body, he was put in touch with a woman who worked in management, who told him that Shanquella had, in fact, not died from alcohol poisoning, but that she had died from a broken neck. Then, during an interview with ABC, Salamandra stated that she received an anonymous call claiming that there had been a fight between Shanquella and the others. She even tried to confront the others about this anonymous call she had received regarding the fight, but they all denied it. On November 5th, the death certificate was issued, and at that point the lies began to leak out. The Mexican Health Department conducted Shanquella's autopsy on November 4th. The following day, they revealed the death certificate stating that the actual cause of death was a severe spinal cord injury and atlas dislocation. Atlas dislocation is the dislocation of the first two vertebrae in the neck. In simpler terms, she broke her neck. Now, this injury is not always fatal, but when combined with additional spinal cord damage, it can lead to death. This death certificate reveals many things, but most importantly that it was not alcohol poisoning. In fact, it does not mention alcohol poisoning at all. Moreover, it states that the time between the injury and death was only 15 minutes and that the approximate time of death was at 3:00 p.m. Remember this because it becomes very important. This completely contradicts Khalil's other story, that she was being assisted by a doctor for hours before her death. Additionally, on the death certificate in section 24, which asks whether the death is accidental or violent, the report simply states, yes, and this doesn't really give us an answer. Was it accidental? Was it violent? We are not sure. On November 11th, her parents released their first public statement, clearly indicating they do not believe the story that was told to them about their daughter's death. Shanquella Robinson's parents say they went to Mexico last month with a group of friends. Her friends came back, but she did not. They say she was found dead. They say they were informed about what happened, but they state they don't believe it. You can imagine the damage they are going through, the trauma they are experiencing, the loss they will bear for the rest of their lives. And I think no one could endure that kind of pain without seeking justice. Around this time, the family had to start organizing the funeral, which took place on November 19th. And even before they could give their final farewell to their daughter, a video emerged on November 16th that turned everything known about Shanquella's death upside down. You can see Shanquella being violently attacked while she is naked in the master bedroom of the villa. And she is clearly not responding to the attack. The assault is filmed by at least 2 people, and you can hear Khalil's voice as he films saying, "Shanquella, can you at least defend yourself?" To which she responds, "No." This video is incredibly difficult to watch. I can't even imagine how her parents felt seeing it for the first time. They had to plead with the police to finally take their daughter's death more seriously. As this video began to gain millions of views and the attention it deserved from the outset, a real investigation into her death began to take shape at this point. Mexican authorities first announced their investigation into Shanquella's case on November 17th. Of course, this video became crucial evidence because realistically, how else could Shanquella have possibly broken her neck? Initially, her name was not revealed, but we now know that the person in the video attacking Shanquella is Dejane Jackson, and now she has become a primary focus in the investigation. I want to discuss the issue of this crime being committed across national borders. Since the 6 individuals involved in her death are U.S. citizens, the United States has the authority to prosecute them. The United States is not obligated to transfer the case to Mexican authorities. However, Mexican authorities also have the right to handle the case. On one hand, the U.S. government will take this situation seriously. On the other hand, they are not obligated to transfer the case. For the United States to prosecute this case, the Mexican authorities would need to transfer everything they have on the case so far and cooperate with the U.S. Now we know that Mexican authorities are handling this case. However, the FBI is also conducting its own investigation. ABC7 reported that it would be quite rare for the Mexican government to request the extradition of a U.S. citizen, but this is exactly what happened. To extradite a U.S. citizen, Mexican authorities must submit a request for the person deemed responsible for Shanquella's death to be arrested in the United States. And we know they have issued an arrest warrant for an unidentified woman, but it is practically known that this person is Dejane Jackson because clearly, she is the one seen brutally attacking Shanquella in the video. This request would then be evaluated by 2 main departments in the U.S., including the State Department and the Bureau of Internal Affairs. Once these departments conclude that the information in the arrest warrant request is sufficient, this information is then forwarded to a district judge who will issue the warrant. Now, this person or these persons will be arrested, and a hearing will take place where all the evidence will be presented. Then, if a judge finds that the information is legally sufficient, the person or persons will be extradited to face trial in Mexico. I know this is a bit confusing. However, it's important to understand why this is not a quick process. Now, the authorities have not released the name on the warrant, but they say the suspect is one of the 6 friends who were on vacation with Robinson. Even though only one person was seen attacking Shanquella, the others who were just watching and filming are also responsible for her death. Going back a bit, remember how I mentioned long ago that one of the people, Nazir Wiggins, arrived a day late? Well, this is another important piece of the story. He publicly stated that when he arrived at the villa at 3:30 p.m., Shanquella was still alive. Now, this contradicts the death certificate, which states that she would have died at 3:00 p.m. Apparently, just before his arrival, while he was coming to the villa, one of the other group members called him and informed him of Shanquella's condition. However, he remains adamant that when he arrived, she was still alive. He claimed it was clear that she had drunk too much alcohol, and from the moment he arrived, he was by her side. Notably, he said he moved her to a quieter area where he stroked her head, and his comment about stroking her head is crucial. It was revealed that there were visible signs on Shanquella's body indicating that she had been assaulted, including large bruises on her head, a swollen lip, and bloodshot eyes. So if she had been visibly beaten, shouldn't he have seen that she had been assaulted and that her condition was not due to alcohol poisoning? Clearly, his character is very questionable at this point, and many people believe he is lying about when he actually arrived at the villa. Then there were other developments when the police report on Shanquella's death came out, which completely conflicts with the death certificate. The report states that at 2:13 p.m., Winter Donovan, a woman from this group, called the resort requesting that a doctor be sent to treat Shanquella for alcohol poisoning. And at 3:15 p.m., Dr. Carolina Gutierrez from the American Medical Center arrived at the villa and reported that upon her arrival, Shanquella was alive but severely dehydrated and unable to communicate. After several unsuccessful attempts to administer intravenous fluids, the doctor informed the others that Shanquella needed further medical assistance and should be transported to a nearby hospital. but the group refused to follow the doctor's instructions and insisted that Shanquella remain in the villa to receive care there. They claimed it would cost $5,000 to take Shanquella to the hospital and that they did not have that kind of money. First of all, if you can afford this luxury vacation, it shouldn't be that difficult for this group of people to come up with $5,000, especially in this situation. But none of this information adds up, because it takes just a few seconds on Google to find out that they are lying. It would not have cost $5,000, and this is completely fabricated. The cost of healthcare in Mexico is typically less than half of what you would pay in the United States, even without insurance, and Shanquella had insurance. Returning to the police report, it continues to state that Dr. Gutierrez stayed at the villa for over an hour, but eventually, Shanquella began to have seizures. It is reported that emergency services were called around 4:20 p.m., and while waiting for an ambulance to arrive, Winter and Dr. Gutierrez began performing CPR. Mexican authorities arrived at the villa around 5:25 p.m., more than an hour after emergency services were called, and according to the report, Shanquella was given 14 cycles of CPR, 5 doses of epinephrine, and 6 shocks from a defibrillator, all without success. She was officially declared dead at 5:57 p.m., with cardiac arrest indicated as the cause of death. But the autopsy, in stark contrast to that report, states that medical officials arrived before 3:00 p.m. and quickly declared Robinson dead due to a severe spinal cord injury and atlas dislocation. The case has attracted a lot of attention, from the public to the media, and social movements have begun asking for answers. To this day, there is no official news regarding a completed trial against the individuals involved in her death. There have been developments related to arrest warrants and other investigations by Mexican authorities and the FBI. But the final legal outcome, including any convictions or legal accountability, has not been reported. Unfortunately, justice is a long and complicated process, and Shanquella's parents continue to fight for the truth, hoping that in the end, there will be a just outcome for their beloved daughter. We will continue to follow the developments of this tragic story, hoping that the truth will emerge and that justice will be served. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next video.